As to assess what we saw in those 60 minutes of football and maybe a little bit beyond, I couldn't help but feel like we were sitting here waiting to watch the future take the present and make it a part of the past. But that just was not to be on this night. Kansas City, as clean as we've seen them play football, Mac, when you look at specifically what they accomplished on the offensive side, lots of layups. What clicked tonight?
Well, first and foremost, Pat Mahomes is back to being the primetime MVP like Pat Mahomes. He was cooking, wheeling, and dealing, and the rhythm is now within the offense, especially the passing game. 257 yards, added another 30-plus rushing with 4 touchdowns.
Yep.
Right. Great, efficient play from Pat Mahomes. And when you look at what they're doing now, you can tell the arsenal of the offense is really back intact. And guess what? They get one of their top guys next week in Rashee Rice. So if you were going to get the Kansas City Chiefs in terms of take advantage of some of their mishaps offensively, the weeks to do so have already happened and came. Now they're back to being the dominant team that we've seen throughout Pat Mahomes' glory years. And guess what? He's still in the midst of those said glory years. And that's what we saw. And I'll say this with Detroit. It was 2 defining moments that really allowed Kansas City to take advantage of this ball game. The first drive, that miscue in terms of the play call with Jared Goff, that pass reception that was illegal. And then the 4th down opportunity with Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's a routine play for them. Yeah. Routine throwing catch. They missed those opportunities. Those are the 2 defining moments for me that led to Kansas City with this big-time win.
Kansas City showed you tonight why they are, 7 years running of being the #1 team in the NFL. They are able to weather your best storm, your best punch, and bounce back and meet you where you're at. Detroit came in with a great game plan. The first drive, they just marched it right down the field and took up, 9 minutes on that first drive. And we were like, wow, they got Kansas City on the brink. Kansas City responded, answered back, and slowly started to take away where they were good at and bounce back and balance the scales and became the dominant force in this team. So this is why they are who they are, because they do a great job of just saying, okay, we've been here before. This is not new to us. And so even if we meet the physical challenge, like in Double Dare, back where you are, they are able to answer, respond, and then take your strength and make it your biggest weakness.
There were no real mistakes from the Kansas City Chiefs tonight. And what I mean by that is offensively, there really weren't any mistakes. I think there was a Travis Kelce drop maybe in the first half, but other than that, you ran the ball well, you didn't fumble the ball, you threw the ball efficiently, everyone got to eat. There were 0 penalties in this game. Jawan Taylor played in this game. Usually that means there are going to be penalties.
At least one.
The Kansas City Chiefs had 0 penalties. They were always very usually in third manageable, in large part because they got first downs on first and second down. They were able to keep the chains moving. There weren't any 3 and outs for them. And so that's what I saw offensively. B-Mac, you make the point. Rashee Rice is coming back next week. They're only going to look better there.
Yeah.
Defensively, the fact that the Detroit Lions made mistakes. You go down and you have a 10-minute drive to start the game. You can absolutely start imposing your will, except this play that you have is actually illegal. And the Detroit Lions should know that. You should know if you were sending your quarterback in motion, that he has to stop and set himself and reset himself. The fact that you don't know that on a trick play, it brought back 2 years ago the Dan Skipper, the whole, when they were trying
not reporting.
And they knew what they were doing, and they didn't get away with it. Again, you're going to try stuff like that. You better know that you can do it.
You know what I love from 4th and goal at the 1? Jahmyr Gibbs, that's Penei Sewell, find his number. That was not what they went with there. This was a game that, from that moment, was controlled by the Kansas City Chiefs largely, outscoring them on the way home. We mentioned it, Rice coming back at this point in the schedule. For Kansas City, JJ, it's Vegas, it's Washington, then a big one with Buffalo at Buffalo on CBS. What does a win like this, at this point of the season, do for what's been the stalwart, as Emery said, in the AFC?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you get back to even, right? Now you're 3-3. You've washed the taste of that terrible loss in Jacksonville out of your mouth. You have a Raiders team that you should be able to beat. We'll figure out what the Commanders are the more we watch them. And then a big tilt with the Bills. And I think we know at this point, no matter how that game goes, that does not dictate how the game will go in January. Win or lose.
Yeah.
And then you have your bye. So you feel really good if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. Back to even on the outside looking into the AFC playoff picture right now, because 4-2 has the final seed in the AFC right now. That's okay. keep winning, keep becoming the Kansas City Chiefs like you have been the last few weeks, and you'll get there.
The timing not great for the Detroit Lions with this loss. As for the Kansas City Chiefs, 28 or more points in 3 consecutive games for the first time since the 2021-22 season. For the Lions, you got a big primetime matchup coming up with the Bucs. What did the Spags defense show this offense that's so explosive in making big plays out of small gains? The running game held in check. Amon-Ra St. Brown, there was volume, but there wasn't explosivity. Excuse me, Bryant McFadden. I'm going to pass you the baton here.
I'm ready.
What did they do that made it so hard on the Lions tonight?
Well, in the passing game, they made sure Amon-Ra St. Brown earned everything, especially in the first 3 quarters. What I saw from the Chiefs defensively, if we're going to press Amon-Ra St. Brown, we were actually going to spy him with a middle backer, and we saw that with Nick Bolton. He acted like he was blitzing a lot from the A-gap concept, but instantly, once the ball was in play, he's looking for number 14. So they were determined to make other people beat them, and that will be the calling card for any team that plays against Johnny Morton-led offense. Because when number 14 is rolling, everything else is rolling. Everything else, that's why they've been so successful coming into tonight's matchup. When you look at what we didn't see from Amon-Ra St. Brown, they found a way to make sure that he wasn't the first option, and if he was being targeted, he was going to earn every productive yard that he received tonight. And that's something that I think you should do against Amon-Ra St. Brown, especially in red zone moments. Make other people beat you. And we saw Sam Laporta showed up. We saw J-Mo Williams showed up, but they're not at their best when they're catching all the passes. It's all about number 14. Number 14 is the engine that gets the truck moving, and Steve Spagnuolo was determined. 14 won't beat us. If they beat us in the passing game, somebody else will have to. And clearly Detroit was not ready for that type of game plan, but that's the Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Whenever someone puts it out there, be prepared to see week in and week out.
9 receptions for 45 yards for Amon-Ra St. Brown.
45 yards.
You can catch it, but you're going to catch it right there, and you're going to stay right there. Emery, we know this offense likes to run to set up the pass. That is the ethos behind all that they do, and this is a two-headed monster that's hard to stop. When one guy's got it going, maybe you limit the other. When the other's got it going, you take the other down. Neither really found their flow tonight. What'd you make of the run game for the Detroit Lions?
Chris Jones made life a living hell for the Detroit Lions offensively. He whipped the center a couple of times, beat them to the point of attack, got over in the backfield, and then made things difficult for the running back. I'll tell you this, the worst thing you can see as a running back is a different color jersey as the quarterback's turn around to hand you the football. That means it's not about to be a good play. And when you saw some success from the backfield of Detroit, it was in the passing game. And so that just kind of was locked in with what they were doing defensively. It's like, hey, we're going to make them one-dimensional. They took away the run game. Early in the game, we saw a lot of tough yards from Jahmyr Gibbs, and we saw Montgomery getting there. But then after a while, they could not move KC off the spot. And when that happens, now you say, okay, how can we get these guys the ball and be productive in space? They try to do it in the passing game, but to your guys' point, a lot of good tackling, one-on-one in space. They did a great job keeping their eyes on their luggage. They communicated really well. We watch games all the time and always talk about how they can't communicate. How could you not pass that off to the next guy? KC did a great job with that. That means, to your point, Joe, about whenever Amon-Ra St. Brown caught the football, that's where he stopped. It was dead ball right there. So great communication, but it started up front. I thought this was a fantastic game from this defensive line of Kansas City because they blew up the run game for Detroit.
Many of the core tenants that have, for the better part of a decade, made this the team to beat in the AFC. Not there just yet, but climbing back to it. And even 500 now, Kansas City. And